We are talking today with Esther Thomas. She's here to speak about her grand book launch and tour, Ascend. So welcome to Good Morning SKN, Esther.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're certainly welcome. Now, when I think about the word ascend, I think about soaring to new heights. So can you expound on this extravagant book launch for Soaring to New Heights or Ascend?
Certainly, I could definitely do that. So with Ascend, one of the things I've realized is that there's so many persons sitting around going about their everyday lives, and they have so much potential wrapped up inside of them. But there are limiting beliefs that often allow them to, stay in a position for ever so long, or there are cyclical issues that they may have experienced or even trauma at an early age. And so that's why we see persons who are probably 40 or 50 or 60 dealing with 5-year-old and 4-year-old and 3-year-old insecurities because they never took the time to address those issues. And so with Ascend, what we're doing is going beneath the soil, because everybody look at a plant sometimes and you say, oh, it's beautiful, it's lovely, but we don't even know if there's a deficiency issue that exists, right? We don't know if there's, lack of water, lack of nutrients, etc. And we never really take time to dig beneath the soil to assess, are we good? Are we okay? And so with Ascend, what we're doing is challenging people to step out of their comfort zones. We're challenging them to understand that, God would have created you with purpose, with vigor, and allowing persons to sometimes walk back to the place where they ran from because they were afraid to confront those issues, and telling them now is the time that you have to get up and do what you've been called to do.
Soar to higher heights.
Based on everything that you've just said, and you've said quite a lot, how difficult or easy was this book to write?
It was not easy. And although it's my 8th publication,
congrats.
It wasn't, thank you. It was not easy because I realized that in order to encourage persons to get up, it wasn't just to tell them that you can do it, but I had to become candid and vulnerable and uncensored and share my journey to ascension. And so even in this book, in chapters 2 or 3, I talk about molestation, the platform that gave me the rise to jump. And so for many of us, we find ourselves in situations where, because we would have gone through a particular thing, we allowed that thing to be what keeps us stagnant and not allow us to progress. And so I speak about it from a raw perspective, feeling that pain all over again, and understanding that although it happened to me, it is not me and it's not a reflection of who I am. And I realized that over the years, as I walked back to that place and allowed myself to realize that I have to accept that it happened, it was only until I accepted that it happened that I was able to identify and strategize as to how I would move forward from that place. And so in Ascend, what we're encouraging people to do is that understand, yes, it's hard. Yes, it happened to you. Yes, you didn't like the fact that it happened, but you can't stay there forever. You have to get up and you have to keep moving.
So I get from you, and I'm so glad that you shared that, it's a book of healing, and it's also a book of vision. So you go back to the past, where you deal with things that are traumatic, and obviously that's not easy for anyone to do.
Certainly.
But it's necessary if, as you put it, you are to ascend.
Definitely.
I get the message. Thank you so much.
Right. You love it. Wow. So how long have you been planning this book tour, Esther?
Actually, the tour before the book, the idea came in 2019. But because of the pandemic, we had to put it on a pause. But it was this year, it came back so vividly, and it's something that I could not let go of. And so I knew that I had to pursue the idea, because it's bigger than me, it's bigger than St. Kitts and Nevis, it's bigger than all that I've known. And so with Ascend, what we're doing is we're going through the Caribbean, we're going outside of the Caribbean, and we are taking that message to the globe and letting people know, look, you've been chosen for such a time as this. So even where you're at right now, you may be at a particular workplace, but don't just see it as a job, see it as your assignment, so that whenever you leave that environment, you would have left legacy and you would have made an impact on the lives of the persons that you would have encountered. So no, it wasn't easy. It's been a couple of years coming, but I'm confident now that it is the time where we should really get up and start moving. So whether it's an idea that you want to materialize, it's the book that you need to write, or it's relocating or starting a new job, or getting out of that toxic relationship, you have the power to do it. It's in you and you can get it done.
This is so incredibly motivating, and I love the way that it appeals to anybody, really, because we all have those issues, we all have those insecurities and those limiting beliefs. What can you tell us by way of even scaling the surface a little bit as to what one of the limiting beliefs is that you might have mentioned in that book.
Right, so we speak a lot about fear. We speak about anxiety. We speak about procrastination. And procrastination is something that everyone can relate to.
Yes.
We often probably not do a thing because we think that we're unqualified, we don't have what it takes, we're inexperienced, or we're afraid to step out and ask for help because a lot of us, we stay on the sidelines and we look at people doing awesome things, but we never stop to think, probably I should have a conversation with this individual because they are heading in the direction that I want to pursue, but because of timidity or because of the fear of them saying no, we never really step out to ask, how can you help me? And allow that person to begin to serve us at the place where we're at so we can move from where we're at to where we need to be.
Brilliant.
So can you tell us some of the presenters that will be on this tour and what islands you will hit up during this tour?
Certainly. So for St. Kitts, Ascend takes off in St. Kitts on Thursday, 30th June at 7:30 p.m. at the OJ's complex on the second floor. The speakers, one being my husband, Pastor Jeremy Thomas, the pastor of Kingdom Advance Church. We have him as well as Christiane Ambrose out of Antigua. She is a life coach, motivational speaker, and best-selling author. And we also have Pastor Boris Johnson from Pentecostal Harvest. And so we have 4 persons. We will be having individual speakers as well as coach conversations because we really want to sit down and have that uncensored, candid conversation that persons need to have, but they don't have because they think it's taboo and they really don't want persons to know that I'm dealing with this or I'm experiencing this. And so we are having the hard discussions about the hard topics. And so we're also setting the environment and setting the tone so that persons can feel free to ask questions, and even right then and there, we begin to help persons get out of the rut that they're in. To be honest, all of the chapters resonate.
The entire book.
But I would like to point out the first chapter, Born to Believe Bigger. And in that book, it sets the tone for the engagement, the work that we're going to do, because what we're trying to do is not give people information only, but also I wanted persons to be able to be guided to do the soul work. And so we're taking you on a journey where you're not just receiving information, but having received that information, you're postured in such a way where you're asking yourself the hard questions. And sometimes we read books or we read blogs, we attend events, we attend conferences, and all we ever leave is saying, oh, this was a good event, it was good for me to be here. But we're never challenged and we're never put in a place where we have to make the hard decisions. And so what this book allows you to do is to make a decision. It's either I'm going to stay here, I'm not going to stay here. And if I'm not going to stay here, what do I need to do? And so we walk you through the process of identifying even what's limiting you from ascension. And after you would have identified that, we get to the root causes. So there's a root cause analysis that we do to find out why exactly you're experiencing what you're experiencing and why you're at. Then we go on to establishing strategies that will help you to move from that place, and then a follow-up process where we begin to monitor and begin to determine, am I still there? Have I progressed? If I've progressed, in what magnitude? To what degree? And so the book in itself really guides you. But that Born to Believe chapter is where you really understand that believing bigger and doing bigger and evolving is what you were born to do. And so I take you back to where ascension all began in the book of Genesis, where Adam was created. And if you ever read the book of Genesis, you realize that no one mentored Adam or sponsored Adam. Adam didn't go to a master class, but from the very time he was created, God gave him instructions, and immediately he began to carry out those instructions. And so it means that ultimately we are born with these gifts and born with these talents. And if we just believe in ourselves and understand that everything we need is inside of us, we will begin to go digging inside of ourselves and not necessarily looking for external validation.
I like it.
That's a solid point.
Wow, believe in you. Believe in you. Oh man, motivated to the core.
I'm not motivating you, Esther.
No, I said I'm motivated to the core. I just looked at you when I said it. Yeah. So with all this motivation on your flyers, they are vouchers to be won. So if I'm interested in winning a voucher, how do I go about that to get all this motivation and more?
Okay, great. Even before I get to the voucher, I'll speak about the package offering.
Okay.
So for even Ascend, the event, it's a cost of $150 EC. But with that cost, you will get a signed copy of my book, Ascend, Chosen for Such a Time as This, as well as Operation Game Plan by Christian Ambrose, which is a total of 2 books.
Okay.
In addition to that, you'll be experiencing a life-changing, empowering event that we know is going to change your life. In addition to that, you stand the chance, as long as you're there, as long as you have your ticket, to receive a night for 2, to win a night for 2 at the Royal St. Kitts Hotel, or you can receive a voucher for dinner for 2 at Marshall's Resort. You can also receive gift certificates from Beauty Inside Out, Anika Ailey Artistry, Anointed Touch as well, and there are 2 others, yes. Just coming back to my memory. So you can also get 1 hour of free life coaching with Chrisanne, or you can get 1 hour of free business consultancy with yours truly.
Okay. So I have a follow-up question as well. So after I'm done attending the conference, I'm working with the book, how do I get follow-up support from you?
All right, so you can get follow-up support by following me on socials. You can get follow-up support by purchasing my masterclasses, visiting my website at estherjthomas.com, as well as Chrisanne's website, and also the pastors who will be with us as they also perform in the secular arena as well, and not just within the 4 walls of the church.
Oh, okay.
All right, so that social media address, can you look into that camera and let her?
Definitely. Right. So social media handles for Instagram, I am Esther J. Thomas, and also for Facebook, Esther J. Thomas. And tickets, I don't think I mentioned it, can be purchased at JoJo's Creations on Church Street, or by visiting my website at www.estherjthomas.com, or you can even call 660-6849.
Oh, so many ways to get in touch with you. No excuse to begin that journey to ascension.
Yes.
One of the points that I want to talk to you about, though, is it's easy to get caught up, it seems, in needing to know what to change. But then when we get back to the reality of our situations, when we realize that change cannot happen overnight, I think that is where we might lose some people in the process. What do you say to people like that who experience those things? Is that part of your strategizing with them?
Definitely. One of the things I underscore to persons is that they must extend grace to themselves. Very often we sit with people, we speak with people, and we say, be kind to yourself. We tell them things like, it didn't happen overnight, and so you're not going to be healed overnight. And so we often allow persons to realize that, especially when you get to the identification stage and the acceptance stage, it can be truly difficult, because you're often now feeling the pain that you didn't feel when it actually happened, because you try to think that it didn't happen, it wasn't happening, it didn't happen to me. And so it can be very traumatic at that stage, but we walk persons through that stage, allowing them to understand, look, you're not the first person and you're not going to be the last. And so even with that truth, we also go a step further by helping them to understand that the healing is one aspect, but then wholeness is another aspect, because sometimes you pursue healing, but we're not necessarily whole. And so we're looking at it from a holistic approach and allowing them to understand that it's a step-by-step process, step by step.
Esther, I can talk to you all day. And I imagine anybody who attends, the book launch will be in for a treat. So you get the final word. I want you to tell us again where we can purchase tickets, what the costs are. Look right into that camera.
No problem. So tickets again are $150 EC. As part of the package, you will get a signed copy of my book, Ascend, Chosen for Such a Time as This, as well as Operation Game Plan by bestselling author Chrisanne Ambrose. You will also have the option to win many giveaways. And once you're interested in attending, you can purchase tickets at JoJo's Creations on Church Street, or visiting my website at www.estherjthomas.com.